Hey guys, Matt from Just Wrench It here, and today I wanted to do a different kind of video. I wanted to respond to Wranglerstar's recent video where he goes over 10 amazingly bad tools that you probably own. So we're going to get into the video right now and see what's going on, and I will make some comments as we go. We may not get through the entire video, but we'll get through most of it, I'm sure.
I may not be using them right, but that's my personal experience. So I'm going to go through one through 10 and explain to you why I detest them so much. First one, any sort of a wrench that doesn't have an offset. Now, what's an offset? An offset, if we look at this excellent snap-on wrench right here, you can...
About wrenches and offsets. Offset is handy sometimes, and yes, a lot of combination wrenches have them, but there are many issues and areas where you do not want an offset, or an offset's actually going to throw you into another obstruction. That's a little short-sighted, and that's a ratcheting wrench. So the idea there is if you can get it on the fastener, then you're using the handle at a distance to loosen the fastener so that doesn't fly.
Without an offset. Number two, Milwaukee tape measures. I have always been a Stanley fan. Stanley is the gold standard when it comes to carpenter's tape measures. The Fat Max brand, the 25-footer, I think is as good as it can get. Now, they were the only game in town for years. You know, that was really, there was Lufkin, of course, you know, some specific type of tape measures for engineers and such. But for carpenters, Stanley was the go-to, right? Well, now everyone else has jumped on board. And you don't just learn something overnight, right? You learn how to make something over decades of experience, and that's what sometimes you don't see in a product.
Okay, hold on.
Well, I needed a tape measure. I was at Home Depot,
but...
and there was a 2-pack. It was like buy one, get one free. And I thought, well, Milwaukee's a good brand. I'll have that. There's really no difference, right? Wrong.
Yeah,
this is
I got some opinions here.
This is the worst tape measure ever. First off, it's got a magnet on the end. Now that may sound good, and if you're a steel stud framer, that's probably a good thing. But for those of us who just work with wood, every time you put this in your nail pouch, when you pull it out, what's it have stuck on the end of it? A whole bunch of screws or nails that you have to clear off, and it gathers things. And there's always some little goober or some little piece of metal or something on there. And how many times have I ran this out to try to get an accurate measurement because there was some goober on the end of it? I cut the board wrong. Furthermore, the ends don't hold up. Right here on the end of the tape, you can see there is a serrated knife razor edge on both of them that I own. It's some sort of a design flaw. I don't know if when it comes in or what causes it.
All right, we got to pause there. This is the main one that, as you can tell, I have opinions about. Now, I don't know what kind of work he's doing, and I was actually going to shoot this video. I have the thumbnail somewhere already started to be made, and I was going to do this, and one of my Pittsburgh freebie tape measures, and compare them all and explain why I just thought a tape measure was a tape measure until I bought the Milwaukee. Yes, you can learn how to make something for years and years and years, and then fuck it up and ruin it, and that's your Stanley Fat Max. The wide blade serves almost no purpose. It's your standard metal blade. You know, there's nothing crazy there. The markings are okay. There's nothing to write home about. They have a little protective cover in the first like 3 inches here. No magnet, which is the feature that he seems to be touting as awesome. It does have that like reverse lip, so if you for some reason wanted to grab something on the back side, you can. The lock works okay. It's just too wide. Like Fat Max it's like the worst tape measure ever. Like, I mean, unless you have huge hands and this is somehow comfortable to you, this thing's got to be... Hold on, let me measure it with my Milwaukee. Yeah, with the clip, let's just go body. It's like just under 2 inches wide. The thing is fat. Like really fat. And this is fat, but if you notice there's a contour to it. So let's now look at the Milwaukee. The rubber feels nicer. There's different textures over different parts of the surface. No magnet. You bought the wrong one, Wranglerstar. This is the Milwaukee stud. This is the 16-foot. This version actually comes in 25 as well. I just got this on clearance. And mine has the, I want to say they call it like EXOXO blade on it. It's like some kind of reinforced fiber on the blade. You hear that? It's that sound like that 3D plastic kind of, and it's got that feel to it. And the blade is non marring. You can't mar it very easily. Bend it, break it, scratch it up. It's supposed to last a really long time. So the lock works really well. I like the streamlined clip on the back. And it's even got that finger lock so that you can make quick measurements and then just let it go and let it reel back in. Overall, the feel is better. Overall, the use is better. Wranglerstar just bought the wrong Milwaukee. I've seen those kind, and yes, he's right. Maybe if you're a metal stud framer or something, it's going to come in handy. But the Milwaukee's not garbage. You just bought the model with the wrong features. This model is great, and I would take it over the Fat Max any day of the week. So that's what I have to say about that. Let's keep going.
Spray foam. Spray foam. I have spent hundreds of dollars on spray foam. It's always kind of the always the refuge of the hack carpenter. Oh, it doesn't quite fit right. I'll just fill it with spray foam. I have ruined more pair of pants and shirts and clothing and gloves. Have you ever tried to get spray foam, dried spray foam, off of an article of clothing? There's nothing tougher than this stuff. The messes and the unsightly. Here's the problem. A lot of this is user error because you spray it into a crack, right? And you know it's going to expand, but you're never prepared for how much it's going to expand. And you come back the next day and you've got this horrible looking spray foam that's squished out all over the place that you have to go and try to scrape off. Nothing looks worse. It's a very terrible color. It makes a terrible mess. Inevitably it'll fall on the ground, and then you'll trot on it, and then you'll track it into your house. Now it's in your carpet. It is miserable stuff. No more spray foam.
No more spray foam. Spray foam has its uses, specifically the ones that he's referring to. And yes, user error is going to account for a lot of things in every aspect of tools and trades and hacks, as he mentioned, hack carpenters. Who's filling carpentry gaps with spray foam? That I don't know about. Now, if I got to run a pipe through a cinder block wall, then yeah, I'm probably going to seal that up with spray foam. Or if I was feeling real fancy, I might try to mix up some kind of mortar or something and actually fill it correctly. But spray foam's your easy go-to. Pretty sure it says to use gloves and safety equipment when you're starting and in the directions. So yes, have I ruined clothes? Have I ruined clothes? Yes, I think we all kind of have. But I think we can all kind of admit, too, that we kind of knew we had some shit on our hands and we touched our clothes. We kind of knew that was going to happen. Yes, it's hard to get out. But if you work with it properly, you respect the tool, or in this case, material, I think it'll work fine for its intended uses. I don't understand the hate there. There's some jobs that literally call for spray foam to seal or otherwise insulate certain things. So that's a weird one to be mad at, but okay. Don't pee in your Levi's.
For me, the next is the mechanic's crow's foot. I bought these things. I'll bet I've drugged these things around in multiple toolboxes for decades. Never once have I ever used this. And I know someone's going to come in the comments, oh, I use my crow's foot every day. Okay, well, good for you. I'm not putting them in my toolbox anymore. I've never found a use for them. I've never, ever once used them. And there's a whole bunch of them. I got a whole metric set and a whole standard set, and I'm always messing with them. They take up a bunch of room in the toolbox. I'm done with it. I'm not packing them all. All of them are gone.
All of them are gone. Did you hear him? Okay, Wranglerstar, don't buy tools that you don't need. There's a general rule of thumb, and this is why the tool trucks get so much business. A tech works on something, tech in any sense, and it's a pain in the ass for whatever reason. And he goes, man, if I just would have had that crow's foot, or if I would have just had that boxed in offset wrench, if I would have just had insert tool name here, this job would have been a lot easier. I'd have been able to get at it. I'd have been able to reach it. I'd have been able to break it loose. I mean, everybody's told those stories. So then what do? You go out and you buy that tool because chances are you're going to run into that job again. What it sounds like here is that you bought a tool that you currently have not found a use for. And I cross my fingers that I know you're going to end up needing those crow's foot. And if you indeed did genuinely throw them in the trash, then you're going to have to go buy them again when you find that job that you actually need them for. You're out there on the homestead, you got to have a tractor with some hydraulic lines or something. There's going to be a use for it. You're going to need them and you're not going to have them. You just haven't found the need yet. You bought the tool too early. Let's continue.
Next is a Jitterbug sander. Now, yes, I get it. Back in the day, there was a couple options. If you wanted to use an electric sander, right, you had a belt sander, which of course is a great tool. And for smaller work, you had a Jitterbug sander that jitterbugs back and forth. I have never experienced a more useless tool than a Jitterbug sander. By the time you fool with it and get the cord and mess with it, you could have just hand sanded for the most part. And I think why these are so ineffective now, to me, in my particular, the way I work. Now, this is just towards the way I work. You know, you may have a different experience. But the orbital sanders are so much more efficient. They don't just move back and forth on two planes. They move and they spin and the whole thing. And they're so much more efficient. A Jitterbug sander, for me, is just, I've never found a use for it. I've never found it to be useful. I've never found that it really was worth the time and space and effort to own it. And if I was to add to that, anything made from Bosch anymore is pretty much not worth anything and worth throwing in the garbage.
Damn! It's bad enough you gotta throw the Jitterbug sanders under the frickin' bus. Then you just want to throw Bosch under there too. Bosch has a lot of good tools. Granted, there's not as many people that I know on a regular basis that use Bosch, but they still make great tools. Their Freak Impact, the quarter, and I want to say it's either a half or 3/8 anvil, that combination, that thing has a lot of good uses, and I hear a lot of good reviews about it. So no, Bosch is not useless, and they still make tons of other stuff. They didn't get to where they are by making shit tools. So I don't know why the dig there, but okay. But and the Jitterbug sander or palm sander, whatever you want to call it, I don't believe those are a back and forth motion. I have one over there that I ran so much that I finally burned it up. It's a Ryobi, but I mean, I don't stare at the pad for hours on end after getting high, but I'm almost certain that they follow an orbital path, or at least slightly. It's not a complete back and forth motion. And the reason why it's a square instead of a round is so that you can reach in corners and do things like that whereas you won't be able to do those with an orbital sander, or you would have to go out and buy an additional detail sander. Again, every tool has its use, and the fact that it can be plugged in and sand for hours is a great advantage. And actually, if I recall right, most orbital sanders, the decently priced ones anyway, like the one I have over yonder, do plug in for that very same reason, because batteries are expensive. Now, could I buy the Ryobi or the I don't even know if Cobalt makes one, but could I buy those? Yeah, sure, but why? You can buy a cheap, inexpensive option that plugs into the wall. If you can run an extension cord or you have an outlet, then you're fine. I don't understand that one, man. You're just hating on tools. I don't know if you ran out of content, you just want to make videos, but I'm not getting that one either, and I don't understand the hate for Bosch. But we'll keep going.
The next are these cheap Home Depot caulking guns. They are so janky and so crummy and so poorly made. And most of them, this one's a little bit different. Most of them, the new ones that I've seen, don't have the little plunger. I even had one not too long ago that the plunger wasn't long enough to go in and to poke the membrane. So here you get a tube of caulking, and you've got this lame cutter on there which won't cut it cleanly. So you get that thing cut off there, and then you go and it's got no wire on there, so you can't plunge it. So you're running around looking for a nail, which of course you'll never find when you need it. And just the dankiness and the jankiness and the sound of them, and how nothing works, and they're just terrible. If you want a good caulking gun, get this one right here. I got this one at Sherwin-Williams. It's the ETS 2000. This thing is like butter. We were doing some caulking, getting the house ready the other day, and I asked Jariah if he could grab the caulking gun for me, and this hateful thing was still in the box, and he brought this out, and I sneered at it. I'm like, no, I don't want that one. I want the yellow one. After using this one, I'll never.
All right. Okay, here we go. So, on this one, you're talking about a Honda Accord probably versus a Mercedes in terms of price difference. So, yeah, the more expensive tool's going to be better. The metal's cheaper. It sounds like it's a simpler mechanism. Tried and tested for years, decades. I know it probably goes back further than that, or some form of it, the caulk gun. But all you have there is a nice, slightly more quiet, maybe more ergonomic plastic version of the same tool. So, like, what here is he specifically hating on the Home Depot version of a cheap-ass caulk gun? Like, what the hell are we doing? I like Wranglerstar's content most of the time. I watch the Homestead updates from time to time. Definitely check out some of his more interesting videos and tool reviews and things. But you got me lost on this one. I don't know what you're doing. I make bad videos. I have just over 1,000 subscribers. You have 1.58 million subscribers, and I can make better content than this on a Friday night. I don't know what you're doing.
Never suffer that thing again. Next off, the Makita worm drive skill saw. When we bought our first house, I didn't.
Alright, so I'm going to admit I don't know shit about a Makita worm drive skill saw. So I'm going to skip through this. You got me on this one, man. I don't know. Looks like you're pulling something out here, so let's go here. Yep, trash. Literally threw it in the trash. Don't donate it or anything like that. Ooh. Channel locks?
Channel locks. Now, I have a lot of channel locks, and that's always been a staple in my toolbox, and I didn't really know any different, except my old auto shop teacher used to call them bolt rounders. After using the Nypex pliers, if you don't own the Nypex Cobras and you're still suffering these terrible things, it's time to move on. Give them away, sell them at the garage sale, round file them, whatever, and get yourself a set of 8-inch Cobras. You won't believe it. The way, just the design of the jaws and the fine nose on it and the quality of the steel and the way the serrations cut and just the way that they adjust are so much easier and so much handier. And they're just so much more precise. I don't know what it is about it. Just perfect example. If you put these in their closed position, right? Let's say you need to grab a piece of thin sheet metal or something. Look at the spread on the handles. You have a lot of spread right there where you can get some good pressure on them. Look at these. The handle actually comes together.
Oh, snap. The gauntlet has been thrown down. Are you not reading the political climate out here? Now, granted, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say the same thing that you are. Nypex are an awesome product. Almost every single one has stellar reviews. People swear by them. Great. Okay, cool. They're also expensive as shit. And they're made in Germany, I want to say. I know it's a German company. I think their manufacturing's in Germany. Anyhow, I'm not a Nypex expert, but channel lock, made in the USA, not bad. Better than my Irwins every day of the week. Last forever. And the idea that you're saying, I mean, if you're doing sheet metal work and you're trying to use channel locks, again, you're using the wrong tool. Like, if that's all you got, then yeah, you might be up shit's creek. But what do you do? You're coming up with the worst examples and ideas for why a tool is bad that I've literally seen on YouTube in a while. And I'm really not trying to bash you. I like your content. You have a great channel. I don't get it. I don't know where you came out of left field to record this video, but almost every point you make is either false or has caveats to it or is so specific that it doesn't seem to even apply to anyone else. Like, I really don't know what's going on here with you, but we're going to continue.
Next thing that I've never liked is any sort of a bow saw. Now this is a fold-up survival style, but they're all basically the same thing, right? So here's the problem with these things. And I know everyone seems to love these, right? You buy them and you're like, yeah, man, if I ever get stranded in the woods, I'll take my bow saw and I'll build myself a cabin. I've never had any good luck with them. They're a miserable thing to cut with because they just won't seem to cut straight. If you get something of any size, like let's say 3 or 4 inches, and you want to buck something in half with this, my experience with these things is they turn. They turn and they turn.
Okay. All right. I'm going to just skip to the end of him. And they turn and they turn and they turn. Yeah, dude, if you can't cut straight, then, okay, yeah, we're about here. If you can't cut straight, I can't help you. You're obviously not a carpenter. Back in the day, when people used their hands instead of power tools, you learned how to cut straight. You don't know how to cut straight. Yeah, it's a thin blade as far as its girth, as far as its width. Yeah, you're gonna have to try harder to cut straight because it's a thinner blade. If you're cutting a log, I'm not thinking you're using the right saw to get a straight cut. I mean, if that's what you really want. And if you were in a survival situation or a wilderness situation where you're trekking out somewhere to cut down something, which is the idea behind a foldable saw like that, is easily portable out into a remote area to cut some shit down, chances are you're not worried about a straight cut. You're worried about just getting whatever it is you're cutting cut. So in that respect, I don't know, get a better blade, maybe a little thicker, a little more rigid, fix your problem. I don't think it's the saw. So here we go. I think this is the last one.
This is going to rub a lot of folks the wrong way. Any sort of a tomahawk. I have received so many suggestions from people. You need to get this particular tomahawk, or you need this particular tomahawk. And there's this idea out there for survival or even general work that a tomahawk is a better tool than an axe. It is not. The tomahawk.
Okay, I'm cutting them off again so we can keep this video short. Did you not ever read The Hatchet? It was a book. We had to read it in about 6th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, somewhere in there. I know I read it. They made it into a movie, I think. That was a great fucking book, movie, combination, whatever you want to call it. It's a great book. Hatchet. You just skipped right the fuck over it. I got one over there in the drawer. It's an old, one side's a hammer, kind of like what you got there, except it's got a much bigger blade. That's the middle point between hatchet and tomahawk. A tomahawk is quite literally a weapon of war. Anyone who makes one now, it's for novelty or, you know, frivolous kind of chopping and cutting. No, it's probably not going to do the same thing that an axe is going to do. You ain't splitting tree trunks with that thing. You might split some small logs. Yeah, it's not got a very wide blade. It's more tapered to cut into things. It's to chop some things down. But even if, as your point mentioned, it was a survival situation, I would be happier than hell to have a tomahawk or any cutting utensil over not. And I don't know too many people that carry an axe with them that I'll admit to on a daily basis. So, yeah, a tomahawk has its uses. Again, you're not using tools right. Man, I don't know where you're at on this video. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what's going on with you. I wish you the best. I hope everything goes good with the new homestead. Just watched the new shop tour. You know, I don't know. Again, not trying to hate. I just don't get it, man. I don't understand where you're coming from. You're making bad points. I just think it's not that great of a video. And this one probably isn't that great of a video either, but I bet more people are going to agree with me than are going to agree with you somehow. Alright guys, that's it for the video today. These are my 2 cents on Wranglerstar's 10 amazingly bad tools. I think that's all of them. If it's not, you can watch his video. I'll put a link in the description. Yeah, this is where we're at, guys. This is the quality of content we get. Alright guys, I will see you later in the next video.